All right. So, what we discussed in the previous session about
High
different types
level
of
design and low level design. Yeah.
different types of applications we discussed.
Right.
At the same time, we discussed about architecture part
Yes.
in context to the enterprise like business systems, applications, data, right? So that part was discussed.
Right.
Next, in the previous one, we discussed even about the difference between high level and low level designs of the project. Because when we are working on application development, as far as implementation of the solution is concerned, based on the requirements given by the BA, there are some high level designs and low level designs to be created. This low level design, nothing but coding part. To make it very simple, we need to have coding part comes under this direction. That is all something was discussed so far in earlier one.
Right.
Now, today I'm going to discuss about system analysis because business analysis is what you are experienced of, right? So how to understand the business. This is what something which was experienced already you as a business analyst. But when it comes to the application development, now and then most of the opportunities they were expecting you to means I'm generalizing this statement. They're expecting to have a knowledge over business systems and this. That's how the transformation was taken. And
Right. And even in my organization, they want somebody with good understanding of
yeah, because
systems.
earlier it is only confined to the functional elements of the project. That was the
Right.
situation earlier. But now the situation is completely changed. Now people were expecting you to have some technical knowledge. What extent technical knowledge, it may vary, right? So some people may have experienced in programming, some people may not be having experienced in the programming, etc. That may be varied from team to team. This is all generally varied.
Right.
But whereas when it comes to the role from the application development point of view, before we are learning about the programming, because from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to start the programming part, which is called object-oriented programming. If you can see whatever the details I was given you already in the beginning of the session.
Right.
So programming, before we are getting into the programming, object-oriented programming, we always require to understand about the systems analysis, what generally systems analysis and how the system analysis functions and works and what are the different stages will be there in system analysis. Normally, you can see here, there are different stages will be there in system analysis. This is what something which normally we want to be known. In this regard, so there are three major areas we need to see. One is about the environment. This is the first one you have to consider. As far as system analysis, I'm talking about, okay, not from the context of the functional element. I'm concentrating from the technical element. Okay.
Okay.
Neelam, right.
Yes, sir. Got
So
it.
first one about the environment. What environment we have. So that has to be focused more on. Second, we need to know about IS research means information systems research. IS stands for, right? So information systems research. The third one about the knowledge base. Okay. So these are the three major core elements will be there in systems analysis. Repeating again, one is environment. Second is information systems research. Third one is called as knowledge base. These are the three major elements. When it comes to the environment majorly again categorizing in three different parts. One is people, second organizations, third is a technology. Why are we discussing under people under the environment? Because end of the day, when we are developing an application or a solution for any customer requirements, end of the day, this must be used by some people, right? So for different purposes, let's say, as an example, we are developing some core banking application to one of your banking customer. End of the day, whoever the backend team who manages the core banking operations, they will be using it, not anyone else apart. Okay. At the
Right.
same time, let's say, for example, we are developing some online banking, online e-commerce application, sales application. This online sales application usage will be majorly for the people who wants to buy the products online. Okay, so when it comes to the environment, when it comes to the people can be categorized into multiple directions. One is about the roles. Depends on the kind of role, what kind of responsibilities would they render will vary. If you take a e-commerce application, roles you can categorize, people you can categorize in two different parts. One is internal people, second is external people. Internal people means who are managing the application from the back end. For example, you take some Amazon website, right? So e-commerce portal. Amazon team, whoever will be there in the back end, receives the orders and they create all the logistics, etc. Okay, they manage all the logistics. That is one category. Second is external customers. External people, nothing but people who are buying products through that website. So they are logging into the website, or sorry, they are logging into that portal. So they search all the options which are available there on that. Whichever the products they wants to buy, they can select, put it on the cart, and they pay the money so that they expect the goods in the stipulated time. So depends on the kind of role what people are having. Whatever the responsibilities will they render is all comes under the first category. Second, capabilities. What capabilities people have, right? So I'm talking about the business capability. I'm talking about here capability from the context of business. Business capabilities should also be taken into consideration. So what are the different business capabilities do we require to render? So that even to be focused more apart from the rules, followed by the characteristics. Characteristics, nothing but the people who are involving. What are the characteristics do they have? That must be the focus over here. So when it comes to the environment, the first one, people, nothing but rules. Same time, their capabilities, characteristics. This is the first point. Second, organizations. When it comes to the organizations, again, this can be categorized in three different parts. In organization, strategies will be there. What are the different strategies are we implementing? So that must be one thing. Like I'm talking about organization strategy, because depends on the kind of strategy, what they maintain, how the application develops, and how the application will move on to the next level will be decided. So always important for us to understand about the strategies over here from the context of the organization. Next, we must be knowing about the structure and culture, right? So what is the organization structure over here? And what is the culture of the organization? That even we must be knowing. Okay, what is the organization structure? What is the organization culture? Right? So that even we must be knowing. This is also one of the key and important element. One should be focused and one should be taken care of. Next, about the process. What kind of process are we following and what kind of processes are we following to enable the system analysis much better, right? So this is also one of the key and important element when we to be taken environment into account. So one is about the people will be considered. Apart from the people, we need to consider the organizations as well. The third one about technology. Technology, nothing but infrastructure, I can say. Infrastructure, we already discussed about the infrastructure in earlier sessions, you know that. Next, applications we discussed even. Next, communications architecture. This is important. What is communications architecture? How the communication from one system to another system relates. Okay, for example, we are developing a banking application wherein you want to use the customer ID number for different purposes. Customer ID number or customer account number is required for you for different purposes. What are those purposes that can be used for what we call that can be used for that can be used for checking the balance of the customer, whichever account the person is having. At the same time, if they have any kind of loan accounts and all that, so that you can track the progress of it and how they are repaying, etc. All that. At the same time, if there is any information to be updated, even we can inform that information to the particular person, given any registered details, given any communication details, all that. So communication architecture majorly deals with what are the different communication systems do we require to develop and how this can be implemented. So this is where generally communications architecture come into picture. So one is infrastructure, 1 point. Second, about the applications part. Third was about the communication architecture. The fourth one is called development capabilities. Development capabilities means when we are developing an application and all, what are the capabilities do we have? I am talking about the facility point of view. Developmental capability, nothing but the facilities point of view. So these are the three major elements will be taken. One is about the people part. Again, I'm repeating. Second, organizations. Third, technology. So these are the three major elements which comes under the environment part. Point number one. So by analyzing these elements, whatever the roles, capabilities, characteristics, strategies, culture, process, so we come to know the business need here, because end of the day, you can ask me one thing, Raj, in what way study over these elements are important to develop the application. So if you want to define any kind of business need for any application, so these are the major elements are required. So people are needed, organizations are needed, technology needed. So these are the different elements which are essentially required for us to understand about the business need. This is point number one. Point number two, information systems, infrastructure, information systems, wherein we need to assess. If you want to do that, there are two major elements to be focused. One is about the development part, and second is evaluation part. So these are the two different things. Development part means what are the different theories and artifacts that has to be established. That is all comes under this one. Right. So what are the different theories do we have? So what are the different artifacts do we have? Right. So how to develop that, how to build, right? So this is all something which we have to know. So one should be knowing about this well in advance. Next, we need to justify and evaluate multiple things, because this option, whatever I have mentioned over here, this is optional, Neelam. This is not something mandatory in all the applications, because we need to justify and evaluate. For that, need not be required any kind of analytical reports or case studies are needed, because this is all something to study over the backend, whatever the backend activities are performed. We want to know this. Generally, this one is required. So otherwise, we don't need all that. Okay. So when it comes to the research part, we have to be focused more on the development and building the theories, right? So what kind of theory, or else I can consider it called as a frameworks. For example, when we are working on Java, we are different frameworks we are using, like Struts, Spring framework, right? So different frameworks I are using. At the same time, when it comes to the artifacts, especially when we are following agile environment, we are using Scrum framework, right? So when we are using Scrum framework, there are different artifacts. For example, if you know about agile environment well, so when we are working on Scrum framework, there are different artifacts are there. For example, sprint planning will be done first, right? So we have to do the sprint planning first. Once the sprint planning done, the next we need to do daily Scrum, right? So what are the different activities to be performed that will be taken into account. So next, after that, third one about sprint review meeting and retrospection. So these are the different elements which will be there. In this regard, so whenever there is an information systems research, which normally we do in context to the development of an application is concerned, what are the different theories which are to be addressed, to be taken into account. At the same time, what are the different artifacts do we have will also be taken into consideration over here. This is where generally information system research comes into picture, how this can be developed, how this can be built. So these are the two major areas wherein we need to know when it comes to the understanding over the business needs. This is what something we have to do in the second level. The third one is about the knowledge base, right? So knowledge base from the context of application knowledge I'm talking about. This is where generally system analysis finally leads with. Application knowledge is required. Applicable knowledge is required for the applications, whatever the applications we are developing. So to develop the applications, it can be anything, right? So for example, you may be using Java because Java programming and Java application development widely used for most of the web applications. Whenever we use all the web applications and all, Java is one thing we use it. At the same time, for example, when we are working on Python, right? So Python is majorly used for the projects who are working on the data analysis part, data analysis projects. Now and then this is becoming more popular, you know that, right? So data analysis projects. So majorly two major programmings we use. One is about Java, second is Python. Java is a prominent programming language using for a very long time, since ages. But majorly most of the web applications, client server applications, enterprise applications, Java is one thing which we use it mostly. That's the reason why that is what something I was mentioned in the information which was given in the content, if you can see, so that you will be knowing well in advance. Next, when it comes to the data related projects, data related projects now and then are required, which majorly needed any data analysis related stuff, etc. Relating to the data analysis part, majorly Python is one kind of language which normally we uses. So these are the two major things are there. One is about the foundation part we need to be knowing with. Next, we must be knowing about the methodologies. When it comes to the foundations and all, there are different foundations areas where we need to know about the theories. What are the different theories do we have? At the same time, we must be knowing about the frameworks, as I told you. For example, if you follow Java application programming, we use different frameworks like Struts, Spring Framework, etc. At the same time, if you follow Agile environment, when we are following Agile environment, we use Scrum framework widely across industry. This is also one of the key and important element one should be focused on. Apart from the theory, we have to focus more on the frameworks, what we have, all that. Next, with what kind of instruments? Instruments, nothing but the infrastructure related stuff. What are all the instruments do we have, right? So at the same time, how this can be constructed means how these are interconnected, interrelated. Because application development is an interconnection of both hardware and software. Everything should be interconnected. So that is one thing which we need to see, followed by the models. So what kind of model are we choosing? That is varies. Because someone will go for the traditional model, something like waterfall model, V model, all that. And some people may go for agile model. So what kind of model we have chosen will also be varied. Next, we need to understand what are the different methods and instantiations we are using. All these things are the fundamental elements which comes under the knowledge base. But this is completely depends on the kind of theories and artifacts, what are all we have identified to develop, so that this applicable knowledge will be transformed to the development phase, to the technical team is all about. This is one element. And second element, methodologies. As I mentioned you, what are the different methodologies? Because some projects maybe belongs to data analysis related projects. Data analysis related projects where we use all the Python, right? So all these things will be used in this. If the projects are relating to web applications or client server applications and all, so that Java, etc. will be used in this regard. So this is one direction we use it. Next, formalizations, as I mentioned, right? What are the different formalizations we have, and what are the measures to be taken, right? So at the same time, different validation criteria we have, right? So to implement and to add knowledge base and all everything to the existing one, because knowledge transfer, understanding and as well as implementing appropriate environment for the application is one of the key element. In addition to that, what are the additional knowledge bases which are to be added to develop the application is also one of the core and important element one to be focused. So these are the three major as elements or the three major factors will be taken into consideration when we are working on the system analysis. One is about the environment should be known with. Next, second about developing and building the application by understanding the theories, artifacts, all that. At the same time, we must be knowing about the knowledge base. What are the different theories do we have, frameworks, right? So what are the different methods and instantiations, right? So all these things we must be knowing. So these are the different things which we must be knowing whenever we are working on the project. This is all something which when we are working on application development, before you are knowing about the programming part, knowing about the basics of programming, object, interface, right? So you must be knowing about all these, right? So function, class, object, instances. So if you want to know about this, the system analysis understanding is one of the core and important element one must be good with. Is it clear, Neelam?
Yes, sir, it's clear. Yep.
Right. So this is all about this. And tomorrow I'm going to start the basics of programming, which starts with object-oriented programming. Okay. So we discuss about what are the different data types do we have. All these things I'm going to discuss you from tomorrow onwards.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.